Okay, let's get into this. We were doing a deep dive today into the essential English toolkit you need to travel confidently across Europe.
Yes.
Because for so many of us, the dream is there. Visiting Italy, France, Germany, our sources mention them all.
It's a huge
Good
dream,
shape.
but that dream, it often comes with
Yeah,
this very real anxiety about the language barrier.
a huge anxiety.
Really is. And what's so great about the material we're looking at is that it tackles that head on. The core message is, look, you don't need to be fluent.
Right.
In most tourist spots in Europe, a bit of English goes a very long way. Simple English is really all you need.
And that's the shortcut we're after today. So our mission here is to basically boil it all down to what you absolutely need to know.
Exactly. We've identified 3 key areas from the sources.
Okay.
First, a couple of crucial grammar points.
Mhm.
Then, the most important vocabulary. And finally, some really practical phrases for actual travel situations.
Like finding food or a place to sleep,
Why?
the important stuff.
The essentials. And we have to start with the absolute foundation, the number one grammatical point our sources highlight, the one that trips up so many people.
And what's that?
It's the preposition. When you're talking about your plans, you always, always say go to a place.
It seems so small, but getting that right from the start is huge.
It's everything.
So I can't say, I want to go Europe.
No, absolutely not. The correct way, the only way, is I want to go to Europe next summer.
That little word, to, it makes all the difference.
It signals everything about your direction of movement.
Yeah.
Without it, it's just, well, it's immediately obvious you're translating from another language that maybe doesn't need it.
Okay, so that's the first big rule. Let's expand on that. When we're planning, the sources make a really clear distinction between 2 words people use all the time.
Right. Trip and travel.
Yes. I hear them used interchangeably, but they're not the same, are they?
Not at all. And it's a key difference. Think of travel as the big idea, the general activity.
Like a hobby.
Exactly. It's a verb. I love to travel. It's this broad concept of going to different places. It's the lifelong pursuit.
Okay, so that's the general concept. What happens when I have a specific plan, with dates on the calendar?
That's a trip. A trip is a noun. It's a specific journey. It's countable. You could have 1 trip, 2 trips, you go on a trip.
So I'm going on a trip to Italy next month.
Perfect. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. It has a start and an end. It's a defined event.
But just to push on that a little, what if it's a long journey? Say, I'm going for 6 months, backpacking through 5 countries. Is that still just a trip?
That is a fantastic question. And language gets a bit more flexible there. Most people would probably still call it a trip, colloquially.
Okay.
But grammatically, you might also shift how you talk about it. You'd probably say, I am traveling through Europe for 6 months. You're focusing on the action, the verb.
I see. So the verb travel becomes more important for the longer journey.
Yes. Or you might even use a word like journey itself. But the core lesson from the source material stands. Travel is the general action. Trip is the specific, countable event. Getting that distinction down is a massive step forward.
Okay, so let's talk about actually being there on the ground. The sources share a really great little story about a guy named Tom.
Ah, yes, the Tom in Spain story. It's perfect because it proves the whole point of our deep dive.
Which is?
You don't need perfect English.
Yeah.
Tom went to Spain, he knew almost 0 Spanish, and he did just fine. He survived, he thrived.
Right, he wasn't there to debate politics. He just needed a room and a meal.
Exactly. And the key to his success was simplicity. He used very short, direct sentences, and the guide points out that people were very kind and tried to help.
You appreciate the effort.
Totally. They understand what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And his phrases were the absolute basics. Hello, I need a hotel.
Can't get much clearer than that.
And of course, the other essential. Can I have some food, please?
Those really are the building blocks. And building on that, our sources pulled out 4 specific phrases that are like the Swiss Army knife for any traveler.
Yes, the absolute must-haves. Let's run through them. The first one is for any kind of shopping situation.
Number 1, how much is this? You need this for tickets, for souvenirs, for a bottle of water. It cuts right to the chase.
It does. And number 2 is maybe the most important phrase in any language anywhere in the world.
I think I know what it is.
Where's the bathroom?
Of course. Clear, simple, and you do not want to be struggling to find that phrase when you need it.
Never. The third one is your universal lifeline.
Can you help me?
That's it. Polite, direct, and it immediately signals that you need some kind of assistance, whether you're lost or have a bigger problem.
And the final one, which I think is just as crucial for getting through a long day of sightseeing in, say, Paris or Rome.
Ah, yes. My personal favorite.
Number 4, I'd like a coffee, please. Honestly, that phrase alone can solve so many problems. Jet lag, early mornings.
It's self-care in a sentence.
It really is. Okay, so now let's dial up the difficulty a little bit. Let's move into the common mistakes that people make.
Right. This is about moving from just surviving with English to sounding more confident and clear. It's about avoiding those common errors.
We already covered the first one using the preposition to. What's the next big one from our sources?
It's the do versus take error. This one is a huge giveaway because it usually comes from a direct translation from the person's native language.
Okay, so what does the mistake sound like?
The mistake is saying, I did a travel to Europe.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds wrong.
It's very jarring to a native speaker. The verb do and the noun travel just don't go together like that. You can't do a travel.
So why do people make that mistake?
Most likely because in their own language, the verb for do or make is what you'd use with their word for journey, but it just doesn't translate.
So we need to get that structure out of our heads completely. What are the correct ways to say it?
You have two perfect, easy options. The first one uses that word we defined earlier, trip. You say, I took a trip to Europe.
Take a trip. Right. That feels natural.
It's the correct pairing.
Yeah.
The verb is take.
And what's the other option?
Even simpler. You just use travel as the verb. I traveled to Europe last year.
Ah, okay.
Or you could say something like, he has traveled all over the world. The point is, you either take a trip or you travel. You never, ever do a travel.
That's such a clear distinction. That's a real aha moment, I think.
It's a huge step up.
And just to close the loop on this, let's go back to our first rule for a second. We said you go to Europe. Does that rule always apply?
Always. The source material is very clear on this. People make the mistake of dropping the preposition no matter what the destination is.
So it's not just countries.
No. People will say, I'm going France, which is wrong. But they'll also say, we went Paris last summer.
Also wrong.
Also wrong. You have to connect that rule to every single place. You are always going to a place.
I'm going to France.
Yes. And we went to Paris. It's a fundamental rule of movement in English.
Okay, so we've hit grammar, phrases, vocabulary. There's one last little detail from the sources that's all about clarity. Pronunciation.
A small but important one.
Yeah.
When you're talking to a ticket agent or a hotel clerk, you want to be as clear as possible. And it starts with the name of the continent itself.
Europe.
Europe. The guide specifies the correct pronunciation is 2 syllables. Europe.
Europe, not Europe, with
Oh.
that extra sound in the middle.
Exactly. It's a very common, subtle mistake. Focusing on that clean 2-syllable Europe just makes you sound clearer and more confident from the very start.
Europe. Okay, got it. So let's bring this all together for everyone listening.
Let's do it.
We've distilled this down to the real essentials. We know that go to a place is mandatory.
Yes.
We know the difference between taking a trip and the general act of travel.
A crucial distinction.
And we know that a few simple, powerful phrases are your best friends in any foreign country.
The main takeaway is that communication is the goal, not perfection. Think back to Tom in Spain. He used simple words, he avoided these big mistakes we've talked about, and he had a great time.
And the sources really end on that encouraging note. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Absolutely not. That's how you learn. Just focus on being clear and simple, and you'll be able to navigate Europe with no problem.
I love that the guy ends by asking the listener to imagine themselves in that European cafe, ordering that coffee we talked about. It makes the whole dream feel real.
It does, and we want to build on that. You now have these tools. You know about travel versus trip. You have the key phrases, the pronunciation of Europe.
And that all-important preposition, to.
And 2, you have the toolkit.
So we'll leave you with a challenge. Now that you have these powerful, simple tools, which single new phrase or grammar rule will you commit to using first? The next time you speak English, which piece will you put into practice to bring that European cafe dream just one step closer to reality?